You are not the only person in your world still standing, but it feels that way. You look at the people who were once beside you in the faith and they have drifted, softened the message, or left altogether. And you are still here, holding the same conviction you had at the beginning, building something no one around you seems to be building. Wondering whether the isolation means you got it wrong or means you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Genesis 6-8. In the BSB answers that question with a single sentence. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. That word "but" is doing more theological work than most people stop to notice. It separates one man from an entire civilization. The preceding verses tell us that every inclination of every human heart was only evil all the time, an entire world moving in one direction, and then, but, one man, one family, one conjunction that held the entire covenant future inside it. If you have ever felt like the but in your generation, the one moving differently while everyone around you has made their peace with the current, this episode is for you. Because the text is not just going to show you who Noah was. It is going to show you what God was doing through him, and why the pattern he established in Genesis 6 is still operating today. So, what do you actually do when the culture has stopped distinguishing between the sacred and the profane? When the noise has become so constant that the voice of God sounds like the quietest thing in the room? How do you maintain covenant conviction for 120 years when the visible world gives you no physical confirmation? The answer is not in a self-help framework. It is in this text. Noah's survival was not God rescuing one righteous man from a bad world. It was God preserving the entire covenant line inside one family, establishing the remnant pattern that would define every act of divine preservation from the flood to the empty tomb. We are going to prove this from Genesis, Hebrews, Peter, and Ezekiel. And by the time we are finished, you will understand what God was doing with Noah and what he is doing with you inside the exact same pattern. Genesis 6-5-8, in the Berean Standard Bible. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth mankind, whom I have created. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. The Hebrew word translated favor is hen, written het-nun, transliterated Cain. The literal meaning is grace or unmerited approval. Before it became theological vocabulary, it was relational language. When a Hebrew speaker said, someone found hen in your eyes, they meant that person's presence generated something in you that you did not plan, did not owe, and could not manufacture for them. Hen is not produced by the recipient. It is freely given by the observer. This is the first occurrence of hen in the entire Torah, the word that will eventually underwrite every covenant God makes with Abraham, at Sinai, through the prophets. Through the grace Paul articulates in his letters first appears here. On one man standing alone in a civilization that has entirely abandoned the covenant. Noah did not earn hen by performing his way to deserving it. He found hen because God looked at him, and favor was generated. The obedience was the visible expression of a man God had already decided to preserve. This is the same logic Paul reaches in Romans 11:5, a remnant chosen by grace. He is not announcing a new concept, he is reaching back to Genesis 6-8 and showing that grace election of the remnant has always been God's operating pattern. The grace came first, then the ark, then the flood, always in that order. Hebrews 11-7, in the Berean Standard Bible. By faith Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear built an ark to save his family. By his faith he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. Two things demand attention. First, he was warned about things not yet seen. When construction began, there was no visible evidence, no atmospheric signs, no rising water. 120 years of building in front of a sky that looked completely unchanged. The covenant carrier's assignment does not come with visible confirmation. It comes with a word, and the word is sufficient. Second, he built to save his family. Inside Noah's obedience was the biological future of every nation on earth, the entire messianic line from Shem to Abraham to David to the manger in Bethlehem. He was carrying something larger than he could see, and faithful carrying of what you cannot fully see is exactly what makes you the carrier. 2 Peter 2-5. In the Berean Standard Bible adds the dimension most people miss. God protected Noah, a preacher of righteousness, and 7 others. He preached while he built. For 120 years, he announced to a civilization that was not listening what was coming, and when they did not respond, he kept building. The remnant does not go silent while it works. The speaking is the witness. The building is the obedience. Both are required. Ezekiel 14:14. In the Berean Standard Bible closes the canonical frame. Even if these 3 men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they could save only themselves by their righteousness, declares the Lord God. Ezekiel places Noah alongside Daniel and Job as the defining biblical exemplars of individual covenant faithfulness inside a collapsing society. 1 man pre-flood, 1 man in Babylon, 1 man in undeserved suffering. God names all 3 in a single sentence as the template for what it looks like to hold the covenant when everything around it is in freefall. Noah was first. He set the pattern. The theological principle running from Genesis 6 through Hebrews 11 and Ezekiel 14 is what we are calling the covenant carrier doctrine. In every generation where the surrounding culture moves entirely away from the covenant, God identifies one carrier, a person, a family, a small community, and assigns to that carrier the preservation of the covenant promise across the crisis. The carrier does not always know the full weight of what they are holding. They know only what God asked them to build. 1 Peter 3:20 in the Berean Standard Bible frames the scale. In it only a few people, 8 in all, were saved through water. 8 against an entire civilization. God never needed a majority to accomplish his covenant purposes. He needed the carrier. 8 was exactly enough to carry the covenant across the judgment and deliver it intact into the post-flood world. Here, in a generation where every inclination of every human heart was only evil all the time, 1 man was still listening. The first discipline of the covenant carrier is presence with the voice of God in a culture that has entirely stopped hearing it. Set 20 minutes aside today. Read Genesis 6 through 9 from beginning to end, not for a project, just to hear. Ask one question as you read. What is God saying to you that the noise in your current season has been drowning out? The carrier hears what the surrounding civilization cannot, because the carrier is still in the practice of listening when everyone else has stopped. Hold. Hebrews 11:7 says Noah built for things not yet seen. 120 years of sustained conviction without physical confirmation. The second discipline is the long hold, maintaining what God said when the evidence has not arrived and the world is giving you daily reasons to reconsider. What has God asked you to hold? A calling, a conviction, a ministry investment that you have been measuring against the wrong timeline. Write it down, date it, put it somewhere you will read in 6 months. Then do not shorten the hold, because the people watching you are getting uncomfortable with how long you have been at it. Noah built for 120 years. The ark was not too long in coming. It was precisely on time. Hand off. 2 Peter 2-5 says Noah was a preacher of righteousness. He held the truth publicly, not privately. And Hebrews 11:7 says the goal was to save his family. The third discipline is transmission, getting the covenant truth across the pressure and into the next generation without losing it. Who is watching you hold your conviction right now? Name one person in your household, your family, or your community who is reading how you respond to this season. This week, hand off one specific truth from this series to that person. One verse, one honest sentence about why you are still standing. The covenant was preserved inside the ark, but the ark was built to deliver it, not to keep it. If you reduce Noah to a children's story about animals and a boat, you will miss the most theologically loaded moment in the pre-messianic canon. The entire covenant line from Abraham to David to the Messiah was biologically possible because 8 people made it across the flood. Dismiss the remnant doctrine as ancient history, and you lose the only identity framework that explains why you are still standing when so many others have made their peace with the current. That is the cost of missing this, not theological embarrassment, but loss of the only foundation that holds under sustained pressure when the crowd thins. Embrace it. Understand that you are inside the same divine preservation pattern that produced Noah, Abraham, Elijah, and 11 disciples in an upper room, and you stop apologizing for being small. You start building with the certainty Noah built with for 120 years, not because the evidence is visible yet, but because a God who assigns the carrier does not abandon the carrier before the assignment is complete. Genesis 6-8 in the Berean Standard Bible. One sentence. The line in the sand. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. That is the remnant. That is the pattern. That is the grace that was there before the flood and will be there after every judgment your generation lives through. Subscribe, because this is not content, this is preparation. And drop your answer to the comment question below.